This conference will now be recorded.
So yesterday we saw in detail uh, what was that script include. We tested the script include from script background, right? We were able to do that, and even we did it from the business rules, so it worked fine from there. We did prefix validation, correct? We did string length validation. It all worked, right? And today we will start with a small topic that is UI policy. Now, going back to the client scripts. Client, we know like anything, a random client script. To achieve anything using a client script, we have to write a script. Without scripting, it won't be possible. Correct? To hide a field, to show a field, to set any value to a field, right? We have to write a script to make it work. So for basic things like uh, hiding a field, showing a field, setting it mandatory, setting it read only, read write. Do we have anything in service now? Like without writing a piece of code, we can make it work? Yes, we do have. And that is a UI policy. Okay. So in that case, you will say client script can also do it. But then in client script, you have to use the function g underscore form dot set visible field name to true. Whereas in UI policy, we can write a set of actions. Hence, without writing a code, we can hide a field, we can show a field, set it read only, mandatory, and all. So let us see an example. So uh, our table inventories. Let us try to create a scenario. What all fields do we have? Product name, unit price. All right. Yeah. So whenever someone marks the status as rejected, one should see a field called rejection reason. The person has to state a reason while rejecting the inventory. If the status is something else, that text field won't be visible. It would be hidden. Let us try to implement this. UI policy. System definition, system UI policy. Leave. It is quite simple. I'll create a new one. Table name. We know that we want to create it on our table. Select the correct table. This is the correct table. All right. Give some meaningful name to it, like mm, hide show rejection reason. This is the name of the UI policy. When to trigger this UI policy? When the status changes to rejected. So give a condition over here. Status is rejected. Then and only then run this UI policy. And then do you see anything else? No. So what? First submit it, then you will see extra sections. Submit. Now you should be able to see these two tabs. Now, new. create a new action. What action do we want to execute? I want to show rejected reason field. Do we have such field? No, we should have created it first. So let's do this. It won't take much time. So take a new tab over here. Our table, new. We know how to create a field. Right click, configure form layout, give a name. Okay, add it, save it, and done. A new field called rejection reason added on the table. Let us see how does it look. This is the field. We want to see this field only when it is rejected. Otherwise, no. If the reason is something else, they should be hidden. Currently, it is not working because we haven't submitted the UI policy. We haven't written anything yet. All right. So now, field name. Let's see if it has been refreshed or not. Rejection reason. Visibility. True. And submit. Go back. This is our UI policy. Table name. UI policy name is the short description. Don't get confused. This is the name. Whatever we give in the short description is the name. The UI policy. When this would trigger, when and only when the status is rejected. Rejection reason. See, we created UI action. We can create a number of UI actions. Okay. So what does this say? Rejection reason visibility true. When the rejection reason is rejected. Rejection status field is rejected. Okay. Go back. What else? Nothing, right? And yeah, by default, it will be reverse if false. If this condition is not met, reverse. That means hide that field. Status is rejected. Then what to do? Whatever we have mentioned in the URL action, that is set that field to true. Reverse if that condition is false, means set that true field to false is what this UI policy says. Okay, so let's try to execute this. We already have a tab over here. Now see what happens. If I click on new, gone. Where is that field that we created? Hidden. Why? Because status is not rejected. It is none currently. Even if it is approved, no. Expired, no. New, no. It's only when the status is rejected, it will show the rejected reason field and the person has to put that field. Correct. And if we want to make it mandatory by default, we can do like this: configure dictionary, mandatory. So permanently this will be mandatory. So now whenever the person selects rejected, and if the person doesn't fill up and tries to save the record, it will throw an error. This is how we hide show fields. Okay. So now what else we can do? One more action. Let's try to create. I want to set an it summary as read only. I can do that as well. Any field we can set read only. Mandatory, yes, no. Visible, yes, no. Read only. Interview question. What all things you can do with UI policy? We can set a field to mandatory. We can set it visible. We can set it read only. We have set this to true. Let's see. Condition is the same. So now let us reload this. So the changes take. Okay. Now, is this read only? No, I can type in something. But now, still it is editable. See, it did two actions. It performed two actions. It showed this field as part of the first action. We created a second action to set this to grayed out. I can no more edit this field. This is the power of UI policy. Very much handy. Now imagine you are told to do it using the client script. Yes, it is very much possible. But then you will have to write a script, set read only this field true, set visible this field true. Correct. So using coding, you can do it in client script. So UI policy is handy. Okay. So if anyone asks you what runs first, I believe client script runs first. Then also let us confirm. Ideally, a client script runs first and then the UI policy. Which runs first? Accepted solution. This is how you search when you are not sure. A race between UI script, UI policy, and this. Has someone mentioned the answer directly? No. The documentation would clearly say Client script, as I said, will execute first. UI policies always execute after client scripts. Okay. So this is one of the interview questions. Which one executes first? Client script and then UI policy. Okay. Going back, we saw an example of a UI policy. Now, there is something similar to UI policy, a data policy. We don't get to use it that frequently, but it is always good to have knowledge about it. So if I have a UI policy, at any point of time, I can convert it to a data policy. But before that, what is a data policy? There must be a link over here to convert it to a data policy. There used to be a link over here. They removed it from this version or what? More options? No. Go back. Open any other. Or let me see if we can configure that option. If I open like this, data policies, related list. Do we have that option over here? Let us see. Let it be. I'll search it from here. Data policy. Do you see something like that? Data policies. Now, what is a data policy and what is the difference between data policy and UI policy? Whenever I use a form to do something like what we did recently, I changed a value from the drop down and the field was set to be hidden. It was made mandatory. When I go to the data dictionary and set it to mandatory, the meaning of that setting is that whenever the form is open and the user is an interactive user, that means the user is a real-time user. The user is not pushing the data from backend. Interactive user interacting with the form, those will be applicable only at that time. UI policy, user interface. When the user actually opens the form, selects value from the drop down, then and only then that UI policy will work. When the user performs something with the field, on change, on load, at that time it will work. Even if we set it to mandatory, when we push data through a web service or some kind of other automation or something backend using glide record or something, those policies won't work because the person is not opening the form. The person is right away pushing the data through a web service or a glide record. Glide record, we saw an example, right? Form A to Form B, data push using glide record, open a reference, glide reference, initialize, set value, call insert function. It will push the record to Form B. In that case, would those validations work? No, because we are not opening the form and submitting the record. We are pushing from the backend. At that time, if we want to do any kind of validation, we will do it using data policy. Same thing. Okay. Table. Then give a name. And submit. Almost similar to UI policy. Just it will see here also we create the rules. There we create actions. Here we create rules. We give same things. Read only, mandatory. Correct. If I select a field, state rejection reason. Mandatory. True. Where is the condition? Condition is something we missed. We should have given the condition first. Where's the condition? This is the condition. If someone is pushing status as rejected from the backend, in that case, we would want the user to fill rejection reason as well. Save it. Simple. There is one checkbox missing. Let us find out the difference. There were three checkboxes. Mandatory, read only. What was the third one which is missing over here? Very easy.
Visible.
Visible, not visible, because that is UI specific. That's the reason it is not there. Rest of the things we can perform. Read only, mandatory. Visible, not visible is something when user has opened the form and is trying to do something. Based on that, the field should be visible or not visible. But when we are pushing the data from backend through glide record or through some web service, won't it really matter? No, no need. Correct. So we can say these are like siblings, data policy and UI policies. Interview question, you can say whenever the data is ingested from the backend, and if we want to perform certain thing like setting a field to read only, mandatory, then we can use data policy. If we want to implement same thing at UI level, we use UI policies. Simple. Okay. So yeah, this is something you can try, right? I already show you one example where we push data from table A to table B. Already have written code. We already wrote the code. The only thing you have to do is create a data policy on table B. And then while pushing, you have to check if so and so. You can make your own scenario over here, right? If this is that, so we need to keep this field as mandatory, like that. Okay. So now UI policy, data policy. Now something important. UI action. Yeah, this is our form. I click on new. Here, gray area. I want a button over here. When I click on the button, something should happen. What is that something? Can be anything, setting a value or something. Okay. Can we do it? Yes, using UI action. So See, one of the method to create ServiceNow objects. See, what we do usually, we search it from here, business rules, client script, then we manually select the table. When we already have the table open, I mean the form open, and when I do it from here, it will automatically capture the table name like this. It should capture. See, here I didn't have to select the table from the drop down because I did it from the gray area after opening the form. And there are multiple ways, it's up to you. Now, using a UI action, it is possible to create a button at the top or the bottom, not in the center of a form. That is not possible. In the banner, top or bottom, it is possible. Let me create a UI action. Set default comments. Summary. Set default comments and summary. Okay. Or let us keep the name short. So we'll set default. Let it be like this. Okay. Form button. Check. All right. Now, there are many components where we can place the UI action, not just button. We can have it in the context menu. I'll show you. For now, let us keep like this and see where does it appear. If not, we will have to select this. Okay. Now, what should happen when the button is clicked? It should call a function like this. My own function name. And then what should it do? It should have some code like, let me check the prototype. UI actions. One sample I created in the past. Let's see. See, here we specify the function name, and this is how we implement it. Copy, come back, Control B, replace the function name, Control C, Control V. Now, I want to set default. That is, I want to set the summary. I want the summary to have some default value automatically on click of the button. I want to have the comments field to have some default value, whatever I set it from here. That's a shortcut button. If I don't have to fill up long comments and description. Okay. So I don't know the name of the field. I'll copy it from here. I'll go here. To copy the database names. Right click, summary. And what was that? Comments. Do we have comments field? No. Yeah, we do have. Summary and comments. It's the same. Okay. copy, paste. Yes. Now, how would the flow be? There will be a button on the form, a button named this. Whenever the user clicks on this button, a code will be executed. How? Because click of the button, it will execute a function named setDefaults. When this function is executed, the control would go to the scripting part. It will find out this function. When this is matched, this code will be executed. Let us save.
What is that quantity? We have like summary and comment, no?
Oh, we didn't change it? Oh, sorry. Good, good. That means you are at least following. Okay. Comments. Cool. Now the code is ready and we have to test. So I'll come to the next step and there is no button. Let us try to refresh. Reload the form. See, a button. Click. What happened? Where did it go? Now set default. No, not like this. Open a record. And if I click on this, no, it should be real time. As soon as I click on this, it should set these two fields. So it should not submit. And it is submitting. Okay. What went wrong? Show the button on insert, show the button on update. Okay. And form button. Okay. And then list banner, list bottom, set defaults. UI actions. An existing one. Let's see what I did over there. Same thing, form button. And then did we click this? Did we check this? No. That's the reason. Cool. Go back. Make it client callable. Is it there? No. Right now, yeah. See, in the condition we put this. On click, this function should be executed, and its implementation is this again from the beginning. This is the button name. This is a table name. On click of this button, what should happen? A function needs to be called. What is the name of the function? On click of button, set default is to be called. What would it do? It will execute this code. Save. Cool. Now go there, reload the form. And now I don't have time to type huge summary and all. I will do like, see, this is how we do. If we imagine a real-time scenario for time saving, let us create one on incident table setting the impact and urgency. Okay. On incident, I have done lots of customization. Let us take the new instance that we will create. Quebec DAV, this one. Let us try to create here a real-time scenario. So we have this thing. Incidents, open. What is the use case? If while creating a new incident like this, while creating incident, see, impact and urgency by default, they are set to low always. If I want to make the priority as critical, I will have to select it as, sorry, I'll have to select it as high, and then it automatically system based on these two fields makes it critical. So what if I have a new button over here, set priority critical? On click of that, I will set impact and urgency, and then the system will set it to critical. Let's try. I haven't done that, but let us give a try. I'll do UI policy, not UI policy, UI action. Don't get confused between UI policy and UI action. They are nowhere related. UI action lets us put a button on a form, whereas UI policy is used to hide a field, show a field, make it read write mandatory, right? UI action. Before doing that, right click and check the column name so that we can use them. Impact, and it should be urgency. Okay. Do we have a picker over here? No. Let's bring in the picker. So we can create it under global. Update set, no, application picker and update set picker. Cool. UI action, create a new one. Set priority critical. Set running slow. This is my button name. On which table? Incident. Yes. Form button. Check this. On click of that, this function should be called, and then what was it? Prototype function. Copy and not this. Close this one. Function name should match. Control C, Control V. Now the main part. What to do over here? Impact, urgency, yes. We expect the priority to be calculated automatically. Impact, what value should it have? Let us copy the values. Okay. Random and new incident. Hmm. One high. Okay. So go to its dictionary. To copy the values. One high. Control C. Control V. This is impact. Same for urgency. Urgency. Do we have the same values for urgency? Yes, we have the same value. So let us paste the same. One space high, one hyphen high. Yeah, the same. Now save it. Let us see if the system calculates the priority as critical. Otherwise, we will try to pass a numeric value 1, 2, 3 associated with it. Now, when I open the incident form, I should see the button, newly created button. Yes, we do see a button. Now I'm filling up the things like caller, Bushra. In a hurry, I want to create incident. I'm filling these things. I don't have that much time. Impact, select high, select urgent. What if I click on this? Wow, see what did it do? Right away set the priority to critical. It's first set the impact as high, urgency as high, and this we know it gets calculated automatically. And it was set to critical. This is a real-time use case. Correct? This is how we set the value. Okay. We can do anything. Whatever is possible using G underscore form can be performed. not just setting the values, setting the field value, setting it to read only, mandatory, everything can be done. Whatever we do in the client script, what have we written over here? This is a client side script. Whatever is possible using GForm can be done like this. G underscore form.
Hello.
Dot.
Hello. No, I'm his father speaking.
Just a minute, I am getting a call. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah. So where were we? We set this value. Similarly, if you want to set summary, description, anything, you can set. Let us try to set something. Dot set value set mandatory G underscore form dot set mandatory what is the actual name? Description. By default, short description is mandatory and this is not. Let us try to set this as mandatory. It is description. If I write like this, then, and I don't know like why ideally if we do dot, it should show us all the methods. Maybe in UI action it doesn't, in client script it shows. We will give a try. Incidents, click here, click new. This is not, okay, no. We were doing it on, did we do set priority critical? No, this is not the one. For now, let us close this. Otherwise, there will be a confusion. We are doing it over here, right? So I will open a tab over here. Yeah, this is already mandatory out of the box. Okay, when I click on open, it will show me the list. If I do it like this, we know when we click on this button, this will be set. But how about description, setting it to mandatory? Would it set? Let us check. Yes. See, it works fine. Correct. Whatever we do with G underscore form, we can do it using UI action because it's a client script. Okay. So yeah, that's how it is. So now the next part. Can we execute a server-side script? So far, we have been executing only client script, G underscore form dot. Is it possible to associate a server-side action to a UI action? Yes, it is. How? Let us see a real-time example. Like this was also some real-time example. We will see an example where there will be client script and it will trigger a server side script. Okay, now our where is our instance? Switch back to our old instance. Close this. Yeah. Now UI action. See carefully what I'm showing. Don't get confused. Hmm. So there must be some UI action created by me in the past. Study this, then we will create our own. First study this. Global. And it will become editable. What I'm trying to do. We know we give a name to the button in which in our case it is close child incidents. Okay. What is the use case? The use case is that when I open one incident record, it will have a button similar to set priority critical. Its name, in our case, the name would be close child incidents at the top. For that incident, there will be a button. For every incident, there will be a button at the top. When the user clicks on this button at the top, it will auto close all the child incidents related to that incident. For all the incidents in the system for which the currently opened incident is the parent, all the child incidents will be closed automatically. So a big task can be achieved just on a click of a button. I'll repeat the use case. I am opening this thing, incident form, incidents. Open randomly any. See, this is a UI action I created in the past. This. When I click on this, it will close all the child incidents which are present under this incident 190. This is the use case. So where are those child incidents? What are they? They are present over here. For now, we don't have any child incidents for this current incident. But whenever we click on this, it will close them automatically. Okay. So how does it work? I have created a new UI action. I give it a name. I give the table name. Click on client. Okay. Form button. Okay. We also know that we have to put a function over here, otherwise it won't know what function to call on click of the button. So I have written this function. What it is doing? On click, this called. Here is the implementation. Yes. What this is doing? Where confirm any variable, it can be even Pankaj. equal to confirm. Do you really want to close all the child incidents? Question mark. Confirm will be a dialog window in JavaScript that will ask for yes or no. If we click on yes, it will return true to this variable. Otherwise, it will return false if we click on no. So, depending on whatever user pressed, yes or no. If the user has pressed yes, this will contain true. Next line, does it contain true? Yes. Then execute this. This if ends over here. This is a whole chunk. Execute this. GSFT submit. Interview question. GSFT submit is a function we write inside UI actions client script to give a call to server side script or a server side function. Okay, it contains action name as one of the key parameters. So forget about these two parameters. These will remain as is. This is the syntax we follow. This null and this. Let it be like this. Main thing is action name. This can be even Pankaj. What your action I want. It can be anything, any variable name. Any name could be there. But then this name should match action name. So if we have given some action over here, that exactly the same action should come over here. Or if we have typed anything over here, that same should be present over here. In short, they two should match. Now how the flow is. Up till here, you know, the user clicked on the button, this executed, and because this executed, this executed. But inside this, we are asking for yes, no. If the user clicks on yes, then this will execute, and then GSFT submit will give a call to the server side function. Based on this, service now will check if this matches with whatever is present over here. If it matches, ServiceNow understands that there is some server side code present below that I have to execute now. Again, on click of a button, this is called. When this is called, this is executed. When this starts execution, it will ask, do you really want to close? Yes, no. If the user clicks on yes, then obviously this will contain true. And if it is equal to true, execute GSFT submit, pass the action name. Once ServiceNow finds this, it will immediately search for action name field and it will try to match. If it matches, ServiceNow understand there is some server-side script written below that I have to execute. And what is that server-side script? Close childs. And where is the implementation of close child? This. Now comes the heart. What does it do over here? This is server side. Say gr, add query, all these are purely server side script. We use it in business rules, right? Can we use these inside this function? Never. That is client script. And then this is server script. Come here. Create a glide reference to incident table. Create it. Add a qualification using add query. We know how to do it. parent underscore incident is a field in incident table. When, okay, let me show you. I want to go to the table of this incident. Right click, configure table. This is a hidden field, otherwise I could have shown you on the incident form itself. It is a hidden field, so I'll go to the table and I'll click on search. I'll give the name parent. I don't remember the exact name, so I'm putting percent. See, so coming back to the logic. Query the whole incident table, create a reference to the incident table, add a query where parent incident field contains current incident sys ID. Nice. By this qualification, the system understands if there are 100 incidents in the table, then filter out those incidents whose parent field contains parent underscore incident field contains the current incidents sys ID. So all the child incidents, there are 10 to 12 child incidents. The search will be narrowed down and those 10 incidents will be there in the glide record, and then query it. So all the 10 records get in the buffer, okay, in the glide reference object. And then one by one navigate to the record. While gr.next means go to the first record, first child record. Close underscore code is a field present on incident table. Set it to resolve permanently. Now, if you recollect, whenever we close an incident, it gives an error. Please put the close code and close notes. And until we put that, it won't allow us to close the incident. And but now we want to auto close. So we are providing those values from the backend. Close underscore code, close underscore notes, state equal to 7 means resolved, and then update that incident. One single incident. Done. Again, iterate the loop. gr.next means now the cursor is on the second record. Close it, update its status. Again, loop until the whole set is completed. Close all the child records. After doing this, when this condition fails, when there are no more such child records, come out, set redirect URL current means stay on the current parent incident wherever we are, stay over there itself, don't go anywhere. Okay, so now where were we? This button should be visible on the banner, yes. Of incident table, yes. What is the action name? Close child. Form button, client callable. On click of the button, execute this function. Okay, once this function is executed, system would ask us, do you really want to close all the child incidents associated to this current incident? Yes. If yes, GSFT submit, pass action name. This can be any action name, but in that case, it should pass, it should match with whatever we have written over here, whatever we have written over there. Once this matches, ServiceNow understands that there is a server-side script written below that I have to execute. It will come here. This will remain as is every time. This will remain as is every time. So write this, and this can be anything. This can be even Pankaj. In that case, here it should be Pankaj. Custom function name. Once it calls this, it passes the control over here, and then open a new glide reference to incident table. add a qualification. What is the qualification? Parent underscore incident field in the incident table. Suppose there are 100 incidents. Find such incidents where parent incident is my currently opened incident, current.sysid. So those will be filtered 5 to 6. Suppose 5. gr.query. Now gr.query means 5 results received, retrieved. Iterate through each record and close it. To close, we have to update its status. That's the reason after setting these values, we are updating the incident, all the 5. Okay. We will create this on our Quebec instance because we already have it over here. Let us try to replicate this. Okay. So this is Paris. This is, I am copying this. Let us go to Quebec, close this, Quebec. Yes. Why I am doing it on Quebec? No special reason, only because I have done lots and lots of customization in my old instance. So you people will be confused what is out of the box and what is new. That's the only reason. Okay. Now let me delete the UI action that I created to set the priority as critical because I don't want to mess up with the system. I want to keep it as vanilla as possible. When I say vanilla, that means, where is this? Vanilla means there are almost no customization. It is out of the box system. Where is our UI action? This is how we find out when we don't know the full name, or always update it so it will sort and bring up the most recent one to the top. Delete. That button is also gone now. All right. UI action, create new. Give a name. This name. Incident table. Okay. Action name. Close child. Okay. Mine is a form button. Okay. Client callable. Okay. On click, it should execute a function called okay. This is the function. And then what is the prototype? We understand this code. So let us take this Control A, Control C, put it over here. Yeah. Now I have put the code, but I have to change this, right? Control C, water is present over here, should be present over here. Control V. What next? Am I passing a action name? Yes. So what is my action name that I have specified over here? Close child, whereas in the code it is same. Either over here or in the code. Somewhere I'll have to modify it. If not here, then over there. Correct, it's one and the same. So close child. I could have kept them same, but I just wanted to take something different. Close child, close child. Rest of the things will remain the same. Yes, no changes. Close child is the function. Yes, close child. And then close child is called over here, implemented over here. Let us submit this. Save. Saved. Can we see it on the incident table? Let's see. If I see close child incidents. If I randomly open any incident, it should be visible. So close child incidents. If now I click on this, I don't know, nothing should happen. Because does this current record have any child record associated with it? No. Let us associate child incidents with 112. Create a child incident. It is 115. I will give it as child 1. I'll submit it. Okay. This is mandatory. Who reported the incident? Suppose Bushra. Okay. This is our parent incident 112. To this parent incident, we have associated one child incident, which is this. I want to associate few more. At least there should be 3 so that we can test it. Anyone? Like, yeah, let it be. Much doesn't matter. Whoever is. 5, 6. Okay, cool. C2, child 2. Scroll down. And the third one. C3. Hey, do we have more users? Hey, there are many. Let this be able to tell, otherwise we will say every time we are taking Bushra. Fine. State new. On click of button, these 3 should be closed without asking for any information because we have fulfilled those things in the server script, close code and close nodes. What are close code and close nodes? Incident, open. If we open an incident, random, if we resolve it like this, it will ask for these 2 things, without which we won't be able to close the incident. So from the backend, if we are going to close it, then also those validations apply. That's the reason we have provided one of the values in our UI action. What is the value? Solved permanently. And means this. And this can be a free text. So that's the reason why I have specified I am closing the child. And what is 7? 7 is the resolved state. Let me show you. That is the status. Resolved. The numeric value associated with this is 7. Right click, configure dictionary, leave. Choice. This is showing everything, right? So I will do show matching 7. See, closed is 7. That's the reason why I provide this. Okay. Why there are duplicates? It would be for different application. Let me see if we can segregate. If I do like this, created dependent value, element, path, updated synonym table. Our should be incident. Did you notice for incident 7? For change closed value is 3. For problem it is 103. We are concerned with incident. That's the reason why I wrote 7 over here. So are we good to test it? Because we have our incident, parent incident, which is 112. This is my parent incident. That is copy so that if we lose this, it will be handy. So I'm going to click. If it doesn't work, we will troubleshoot it and make it work. Again, latest states, new, we want to close them. No error, nothing, but we are more concerned about the states of the child incident. So let us scroll down. And yes, all of them have been closed automatically. So if I open one of them, let us go to the resolution details. See, and the status closed. This is the power of UI action. I executed a client-side script and I also executed server-side script. Hey, it didn't throw the alert, right? It should have thrown an alert. You people didn't tell me. Let me quickly check. It should ask for yes, no, correct?
It asked Pankaj.
Did it asked?
Yeah.
Okay. Let us do it again. Okay. Fine, it asked. And that's how it will close the incident. For this, there are no child incident, so the script didn't do anything. If it was, it would have closed it. This is how we use UI action. Only client-side script executed. Only server-side script can also be executed. Client plus server, we saw a big example. This can be executed. Don't you think you can fake out such scenarios in interviews? They will ask you what customizations you have done in incident. You can say I created fields, I configured choices, I added new choices to the incident table. In hardware, software, I added middleware, right? You can say I created a UI action to auto close the child incidents. I placed a button on the banner. Or you can say I created a UI action to set the priority to critical. You can say so many things, right? The choices I showed you over here. Where are those choices? 7. State. Where does these come from? Whether it is state field or this field or any other such field, drop down field, there is a common table associated with all. They all are stored in one single table called sys underscore choice. Let us see. Is the name exactly what I am telling you? Sys underscore choice underscore list dot two. Hit yes. See why I cannot locate choice table over here by writing choice. Is it there? Let me check. Choice list. Yes, it is there. Yes. In case any item, any table, you are not able to search in the navigation using the label, that means module for that is not present over here, but the table does exist. In that case, if you have the actual name of the table, like for this table, what is the actual name? Choice underscore list. So underscore sys underscore choice underscore choice is the table name that I know actually. Just have to add underscore list dot two. Every time this will be there, this will be the table, and just hit enter. It will display the same thing. Correct. I want to see whether what I'm typing here is correct. Open any record I told you, go to the XML and check the table name, show XML. Sys underscore choice is the table name. Right. Let us see these choices, how they are separated by the table name. See, if I want to filter out the choices that are created for just incident table, I search like this, hit now label and value. See, inquiry help we see as a label, inquiry software we see as a label, actual software. Correct. Element category, close code. See, close code, everything is present over here. From here you can create new choices right away. There are 20 or 53, total 53 choices available. Show 20 per page, that's the reason it is showing 20 at a time. And then we have to click on this, show 100 plus, so it will show all because there are just 53. Now in one single page I should be able to see all 53. Okay, and now let's go back to our UI action. This was the form button, that's why it was available over here. I can, where is our new tab? Okay, yeah, what is this? Okay, open the UI action. Where is our I'll sort it by updated or created. Sort. That's the reason, if you remember, I prefer to give the same prefix to all the objects so that it is easy to search it over here. I didn't give Swapnil this time, I forgot. And that's the reason we were not able to search it. It is opening. Yeah. Now this was a form button. Now people will say, no, I don't want it as a form button. I want it at additional places as well. There are many. You'll have to check, uncheck, and do some R&D. Like if I click on this, or let's say this, and not this. Now it's available as a form button and form context menu. The same functionality. Save it. Okay. Now if I go to the incidents, or let it be like this, I'll go to a new tab. If I open an incident randomly, context menu, let us see, let us try to find out. There are many, so I also don't exactly remember, but when they say context menu, it should see, I added it over here. So not just this, if this was not that, I could have put the functionality over here. Both will do the same thing. I can close child incident on click of button, or I can go to the, this is the context menu, hamburger. Close child incidents. Where did it go? See, I can click on this and it will ask the same thing and it will do the same thing. No difference. This is the power of UI action. Once you build it, you can put it anywhere. Let us go back and okay. By default, it has put the button here as well. If I click over here, it will execute the same code. It will do the same thing. Okay. Now, what else? Let us uncheck this and form link. Let's see, where does it display? Reload the form because we did the changes. Where is reload option at the end? Form link. Let us scroll down. Yay, see, displayed over here. It will do the same thing. These are the options. Getting? We'll execute the same thing. It's up to us whether we want to provide it as a button or a form link or inside a context menu. Correct? It's like that. Where is it? Uncheck. List banner button. Let us like this. Save. Reload. List banner. What is that? Scroll down. See, list banner. But that won't make much sense, right? Adding it over here. Though, if we want, we can put it just like that. From here,
uncheck, list bottom, save it. Reload the form. List bottom, right? See, list bottom disappeared from here. All up to you. It will do the same thing. See, come back, uncheck, list context menu, save it. Reload. List context, what is it? List context means might be this. Action, this, that. No. Child incident. Auto close. No, it is not there.
Maybe that hamburger child besides the child.
Okay.
Yeah.
Over here it must be there. No. Close assigned to me. Where did it go then? Here it should not be there because we already saw when we see it over here. Okay. Let us, I'll reload it again. It is not here, right? Otherwise, I thought it will be add to this copy. Create child incident. Close child incident is not there. Reload the form. Did it get somewhere over here? List context menu. What does it say? List context menu. Okay. Related list. Let me try to bring first. Let us first check. Where did I check initially? There was some list over here, correct? Where is that? There was a kind of list over here. Configure related list. This will be form links, security, data policy, form design, form layout, related list. No, not like that. Fine, what we will do, I'll find it out and you can also do it from your end. Try to search when you check, uncheck this. Where does that option go? Here. Now I'm not able to see the drop down that we were seeing. There was a kind of list over here. Where did it go? No. Fine. I'll tell you like, okay, next time how to, let me give one more try. Copy this, create child incident, close child incident, not there. Okay. Related list. If I open any other incident, like this, and if I go over here to the bottom, no. What else do we have? We are left with this. Let us see. If I save like this, list choice. So in the list layout, it should be there in the choice. Refresh. In the list, it should be there, right? Incident list. Close child incidents is there. But there is no use of placing it over here. There is no use. Why? Because even if we click on that, it won't execute anything. How would it find for what incident it has to close the child incident? It's only when we open a certain incident, we get the current.sysid. Now we have the sysid because this is the currently opened incident, and it's only when now I execute that code, I'll be able to close all the child incidents present under it. Right? That's the reason. But just wanted to show you, we can put it all over there. Right? There is also one more. Let's see. This is something we didn't find. Right? List context menu. Save this. And now and like this, list context menu means this is the list, its context menu is this. Do we have it anywhere here? List context menu. No. See, it's like this. The one starts with list, will put it in the list. List context, like this, list that. Not asked generally in the interview, but you should do some R&D to find out if I check on this checkbox where it will be put. It's like this. Related links and got put. Even if I click on this, what it will get? Have I opened any incident? No. What it will do? It won't do anything. Correct? It doesn't have the value. So that's how it is. And try to explore. I'll also try to explore. We missed this one. What was it? List context menu. Find out if you check this where exactly that UI action will be displayed. Try to find out. Do some googling. What is list context menu? Okay, then you'll be able to find it. So here we saw in detail about UI action, server side action, everything. Right now, one lightweight topic, report. I want to create a report of incidents. I went to report, create new. Now, when I do like this, coming up, give report name like incident INC. Data source I'll tell you later. Mostly we select table. Data source is something we have readily available with qualification so that I don't have to put the qualification every time. Like the first time I do it using table, I save the report, I have an option to save as data source so that again and again I don't have to specify those complex qualification. That's the only difference. Select the table, incident. Okay. I want to create a new report named Swapnil incident on incident table. Next. What happened? Next. These are all the incidents. So what? I want to put a qualification. Put a qualification. Condition builder. Status is in progress. This is my qualification. Next. And yeah. If I run this, it will show me the result over here. Over here. These are all in progress incidents because I have given such qualification. What I can do with this report? Save as data source so that the qualification can also get saved along with it. And next time if I want to create any new report that has got a similar qualification, I can select it. Right? This is the report now going ahead. How about scheduling it? See, I clicked on shared button. Share. Save the report before saving. Save and continue. Share with just me. It is visible to just me. Everyone requires role. Everyone having the role that we give the system, like anyone with admin role or anything, dummy role, all these people can see this report. Or I want to make it visible for a certain group. In that case, I will give the group name. Any group. I can add more groups or I can add users. Only those users will be able to see the reports. This points to the sys user table where we can see all the users. We can add as many users as we want. This is how we can share it. Correct? We have given the name already to the report. What else I can do? I can schedule the report. See, such report runs daily at so and so time. See, We know daily, weekly, monthly. I want to schedule it daily. HH, MM, SS. During transformation, we saw it is the same thing. Loading, schedule basis. Correct? Subject, daily report, daily incident report. Hello, sir. Regards, anything. And it will send the result to these people. My manager, I'll search it over here. Bushra or anyone. Abraham Lincoln sounds good. 2-3 managerial people I will give date and time automatically based on the user's profile. Their email IDs will be picked up from the sys user table and the report will be sent as an attachment to those people. This is how it is. Very simple. Creation of report. You have to submit this so it will be scheduled. Correct. What else we can do? Add to dashboard. What is a dashboard? Let me show you. These are all the available dashboards. Dashboard is a real-time representation of data. All the open incidents in the system, all the high priority incidents in the system. Like if I am a support desk agent, I work on the incidents daily. When I log in into the system, when I log in, I should see a page that shows me the current incidents in my group, assigned to my group. A kind of pictorial representation, summary is what the dashboard is. Okay, I'll show you. So I can add the report to the dashboard. I can select any dashboard. Do I have anything? Incident daily. This is one of the dashboard. I'll add it to it. So whenever someone views the dashboard, the report will also be a part of that. See, this is the dashboard. And now our incident, our report will be the part of this. See, this is our report. Getting? It contains these widgets. Each component is a widget in a dashboard. Our report has also been placed as one of the widgets in this dashboard. Getting? Dashboard. What other option did we have in the report? Create new. Let us go back. Where is it? Create new. Give a name. Anything. XYZ. Incident. Take this. Next. Qualification that we know. Next. Next. I can export it to PDF. Save and continue. Exporting. Portrait, landscape, however you want. Okay. Delivery. Send as an email to this right away with this orientation. Landscape, portrait, or anything. Right? It is so easy. Export. So is it that it will give us some file? Yes. Download. Yes. Open it. It is downloading. Download it. Scanning. Open. Show in folder. It will take some time to open. And wow, we have downloaded a report. See, this is how we create reports in ServiceNow. We can send reports to people. We can set the visibility, right? Now, again, create new. I don't want data. I want a chart. Next, bar chart. You have to play around with this. See, group by anything. Assignment groups. Yes. Stack by priority. See, group by vertical. Assignment group. Assignment group 1, 2, 3, so on. Stack by horizontal. I want priorities. How does it look? Wow. Share. Export to PDF. Let us check how does it look. Export. Download. Scanning. How does it look? So even this can be scheduled. What does it show? Service desk, hardware, software, network. These are all the assignment groups. What are these? Critical priority incidents are these. Critical. High priority, these green. There is no high priority incident with this group. Getting very useful information. Incident count. X-axis, Y-axis. X, Y. Play around with this. Explore it. How interactive you can make it. Okay. Cosmetic changes and all. This is how we do it. Now, close. Uh, Settings, gear icon. Homepage is homepage or dashboard. If I do like this and I close and then I log out, I'm telling ServiceNow then when I log in, I should be able to see dashboard as my homepage and not the default homepage. Now let's see. Where did it go? Hanged, spinning. Not this. Getting started and all. No, not this. Ideally, it should display the dashboard. You will see that not a big thing. Okay. When I do like this, I see all the dashboards. We will create a new dashboard next time. There are lots and lots of widgets over here. I'll show you how do we place widgets on the dashboard. Existing widgets we will place on the dashboards. We can create a new dashboard also. We will do it next time. And I'll show you all these things. Okay. So that's how we create reports in ServiceNow. We can add it to a dashboard. We can publish it. How we can publish it? See, create reports, create new, where is it? Create new report option. Did we see publish option over there? There is also one publish option. Let's see. I saw once an option called publish. Don't know in Quebec the people removed it or what. With publish, we can have a URL. We can share that URL with any user. Any user with that URL can access the report. Okay. Let's see. I'll show you from the old system. Okay. If it is there or not there, I'll show you what is the difference. All right. So for today, we will stop here. Again, we will start with the reporting next session. Okay. It won't take much time. We will spend some 10 to 15 minutes over there with dashboards. And then we will take a new topic called ECL. That is very, very important. Okay. So friends, yeah, I think we are done already. And let's meet next weekend. Okay. And stop the recording. Thank you very much for the time. Have a nice day. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.